Although he didn't understood why Li Moying was so upset, but after consideration, Moe felt he was obligated to remind Huang Yueli about this. "Third miss, actually, after you left yesterday, Master awoke and when he didn't see you, he seemed very angry." "Really?" Huang Yueli didn't think anything was amiss and said dismissively, "Of course I'd like to stay by his side to accompany him and wait for him to wake up. But it's simply too dangerous for his illness to act up like that anytime, so if I didn't get Divine Dr. Lu to come over and check on him, how will I be rest assured?" Moe realized that she didn't understood what he meant, so he tried to make his meaning clearer. "Third miss, I feel that my master don't seem to like Divine Dr. Lu very much." Huang Yueli suddenly went into a blank. "Really? Why is that so?" Divine Dr. Lu's medical skill is indeed matchless in the whole world. Moreover, he had treated Li Moying previously. Even the medicinal pills that were used to suppress his illness were refined by Lu Baiyan, so he would surely understand what's going on with his condition. It would surely be of help if we invited Divine Dr. Lu to come over and take a look. This. I understand, but Master Moe wiped the sweat off his forehead, not knowing how to explain. Third miss didn't seem like she understood his hint, not realizing that Li Moying was jealous just because she and Lu Baiyan stayed together for a couple of days. He was slightly glad that Lu Baiyan had been out for an outpatient visit and Huang Yueli had not found him. Otherwise, if the both of them were to appear in front of Li Moying, plus the fact that Lu Baiyan and Li Moying found each other disagreeable, heavens knew what kind of disaster would have happened last night. Huang Yueli continued, "Sigh, I say, your master is already a grown man, don't tell me he's afraid of seeing a doctor. But for this illness that he was born with, if he didn't listen to the doctor's advice, it was impossible for him to recover by himself, so how can he hide a sickness for fear of treatment?" Luo Jiyun saw that Moe couldn't bring himself to ask the question, so he simply popped the question by himself. "Sister-in-law, I'm very curious, why did Divine Dr. Lu save you? Isn't he rumored to have an aloof character and a typical not caring about other people's affairs or lifting a finger to save someone in mortal danger? Unless the other party is a beauty, otherwise he would never stick his nose to save that person." Huang Yueli rolled her eyes at him and said, "What do you mean? You think I'm not a beauty?" Although this body indeed differed from her previous life, but she discovered that as her cultivation gradually grew, her looks in turn also became prettier. She thought that this body's look seemed to be sealed by the flame spirit physique, and as it was unsealed, it would turn prettier bit by bit. In actual fact, she was already rather pretty even though she was in the second stage realm. In the past, her cousin by Ruoqi was named as South Yu Kingdom's #1 beauty, but yet she was incomparable to her now. Luo Jiyun hastily replied, "Of course not. Sister-in-law, you're pure and delicate, of course you're a beauty, big beauty. But that. I heard Lu Baiyan was a Casanova and every time he saved beauties, he didn't have any good intentions and would make them accompany him for a period of time." Huang Yueli said, "That is a misunderstanding. Lu Baiyan is not what you guys think. Although he really had a lousy temperament, but his character isn't that bad. He had indeed made me accompany him for 7 days and 7 nights, and wanted me to listen to all his commands with no resistance, but, what? Lu Baiyan that *****. He really did that to you?" Huang Yueli had yet to finish her sentence when she suddenly heard Li Moying's flustered and exasperated voice from the bed. "You can also listen on." Huang Yueli was shocked and she turned around and saw Li Moying wearing only a pair of pants. His upper body was still naked as he jumped down from the bed and walked towards him with a furious face. Huang Yueli cried out in joy, "Li Moying, you're awake. Do you feel uncomfortable anywhere? I've made for you." Li Moying suddenly pulled Huang Yueli's wrist as he pulled her into his embrace and lowered his head. His peerlessly handsome face gradually pushed nearer to her as the tip of their noses touched. The anger on Li Moying's face was obvious as the strength that was grabbing Huang Yueli's slender waist was rather forceful. Lear, you really agreed to Lu Baiyan's request. That pervert wanted you to listen to all his commands and made you accompany him for 7 days and 7 nights. Huang Yueli's eyes grew wide as she couldn't understand what was wrong with the man in front of her eyes and blinked. That's right, I did agree to his demands, but, that bastard. Li Moying was so angry that he wanted to flip the table, but when he saw the breakfast that Huang Yueli had made and left on the table, he hesitated, and not bearing to spoil it, he turned around as he sent a stool flying. Hey, what possessed you? The corners of Huang Yueli's lips twitched. Li Moying held her shoulders and glared at her, clenching his teeth as he hisses, I know, the reason you agreed to his demands was to save your own life. It's all my fault, I wasn't able to protect you, so for you to make such a decision, am not in any stand to say anything. But don't meet with Lu Baiyan ever again, forever and ever. Even if I were to die tomorrow, you're not allowed to go and beg him. Huang Yueli blinked her large eyes as her face had a puzzled look. Did you hear me? You're my fiancé. Li Moying saw that she didn't give any reaction and continued to ask her pressuringly. Huang Yueli blinked her eyes again, seemingly starting to come around. Li Moying, are you jealous? I tell you, nothing happened between me and Lu Baiyan. We were only, I don't want to hear this. Li Moying resolutely cut her off. Don't be jealous. I'm not jealous. You are jealous. Which eye did you see me jealous? Li Moying stared at her while shamed into anger. I saw with both of my eyes. Huang Yueli looked at his tightened jawline, that unyielding expression made her burst out laughing. This round, Li Moying was really furious. You still dare to laugh? Huang Yueli saw that he was really so angry to the point of fainting and hastily continued, all right, I'll stop laughing, okay? Can you listen to me finish my sentence? I don't want to hear. Li Moying replied resolutely. Huang Yueli pouted and said, all right, forget it if you don't want to hear. Then I'm leaving. Anyway, you don't believe me and feel that I've been tainted by other men, so I'll get lost myself and you can stop getting involved with me. The food I made, I think you'd probably not have any mood to eat as well, so I'll bring it along with me. Saying that, she took the serving plate on the table and turned towards the door. However, before she could even touch the door, her pathway was blocked by someone. Li Moying's speed was extremely fast and within a split second, he blocked the exit. Huang Yueli cried out, go away. Li Moying crossed his arms and with an angry face, he stared at the lass who made him love and hate her. Who said you can take the breakfast away? You obviously said earlier that it's made for me. Huang Yueli stared at him, anyway you don't want to eat it. I saw a little dog at the doorway, so I'm going to feed it. You can also listen on. You dare. Li Moying was going to be angered to death by this lass. She actually stayed together with the person he hated the most for 7 days and nights, and Lu Baiyan actually made her listen to all his demands. Listen to all his demands. What on earth was that? This little fox had never listened to his demands at all. Why must she listen to that hateful fellow's demands? What kind of fellow was Lu Baiyan? The most undue thing was this lass had already treated him unfairly, threw her temper at him and wanted to feed his breakfast to a dog. Could it be that in her heart, he was not even comparable to a dog? Li Moying's face turned so black that ink could drip from it as he had already swallowed several jars of matured vinegar silently. Not only was he jealous of Lu Baiyan, he was also jealous of that stinking dog. But even though he was feeling sour inside, he refused to admit it. He pulled a long face and with a strong attitude, he said, you had already given me this breakfast, so you cannot take it away. You're not allowed to leave here as well. Saying that, He turned around and commanded, "Moe, go chop that dog up at the entrance of the door and make it into hot pot." "Hey! You!" Huang Yueli turned anxious. "That's just a puppy that's just born. How can you be so heartless with no compassion at all?" Li Moying raised his chin and looked down at her. "I'm that ruthless, but compared to Lu Bian, who has a dagger hidden in his smiles, I'm way better than him." Huang Yueli didn't know if she should cry or laugh. He still remembered Lu Bian's matter. Did he need to be so petty? She was distracted for a moment when Li Moying took the opportunity to hold on to her slender waist with one hand, and using the other to throw the serving plate with just enough strength, landing it onto the table without spilling even a drop of the porridge. Huang Yueli's wrists were held tightly by that man and pressed against the wall as both her hands were pressed on top of her head. "Li Moying, what are you trying to do? Let me go. Moe and junior brother Luo are still here." Huang Yueli didn't expect him to make a move once they didn't agree on a point, but she wasn't able to avoid him, so she could only call out while struggling. Li Moying's eyebrows lifted and that swift and fierce phoenix eyes raised slightly, bearing a slightly evil expression as he got closer to Huang Yueli. That pressurizing handsome looks was so near that Huang Yueli could see clearly how long and curly his eyelashes were, as though two little fans, making even her, a woman, jealous of it. "Lear," Li Moying mumbled softly, his tone deep with a tinge of huskiness from being awakened not too long ago. Huang Yueli's heart skipped a beat as her eyes widened and stared blankly at that peerlessly handsome man. "Lear, do you mean if Moe and Luo Jiyun were not here, then I will be able to hug you freely?" Li Moying laughed. "This is easy, I'll make them go away. You two fellows, what are you preparing to peep at by continuing to stay here? Haven't you seen a couple quarrel before?" Luo Jiyun and Moe had originally opened their eyes wide, looking at the show with keen pleasure. An emotionless and cool man like Li Moying was actually jealous. This was a show which would only be seen in 100 years, so how could they miss it? Moreover, Li Moying's jealousy made him look really childish. It was unimaginable on how stern and overbearing this man usually was. Just as they were absorbed into the scene, they suddenly heard Li Moying say such a sentence. "You can also listen on." Both of them were alert and immediately stood up. "Senior brother, we were about to leaving now. I was worried about Master and Third Miss safety, we're leaving now." Seeing these two traitors ignoring her call for help and preparing to run off without any loyalty, Huang Yueli's eyes almost popped out from staring at them. "Damn, I usually treated you guys pretty well. How could you yield to the evil force's powerful lust? It was really a waste for me to treat you guys so well." Just at this moment, Li Moying opened his mouth yet again. "That's right, that dog at the entrance, don't you dare." "Whoa!" Huang Yueli was about to start berating him, but instead her lips were pressed against by Li Moying's perfectly shaped thin lips, who was stooping right above her, pushing her last words back. This time, there were no obstructions as his tongue tipped dove straight in and invaded her mouth, absorbing her fragrance. Luo Jiyun couldn't help but blew a whistle and pulling Moe, the both of them quickly ran away. Whatever dog, he could pretend that he didn't hear anything, but Li Moying wanted him to get lost. He didn't dare not listen. Instinct told him that if he continued to stay here and be a spectator, perhaps he would die in unsightly manner. After the both of them left, Li Moying didn't have any more reservations and pressed Huang Yueli against the wall, waywardly kissing her till he had enough. Huang Yueli wanted to say no, but under this overbearing yet sexy man's breath invasion, her brain turned into glue and gradually gave up resisting as she laid gently into the man's embrace. After a long time, Li Moying finally let her off, but one hand was still locked onto her wrist while the other hand's thumb gently brushed past her swollen lips from the kissing, causing a slightly prickling sensation. "Lear, you're mine. Promise me. Don't meet with Lu Bian ever again." Li Moying gritted his teeth as he said these by her ear. Huang Yueli had originally become dizzy from the kiss, but upon hearing these, she suddenly awoken from her stupor. She quickly pushed Li Moying aside and retorted angrily, "Li Moying, haven't I told you this? Nothing happened between me and Lu Baiyan. He didn't raise any demanding requests. He only made me dress up as the girl that he liked and accompany him to have his meals or have a conversation. Perhaps I resembled a little to the girl that he liked." She was afraid that Li Moying would stop her from talking, so she could only explain quickly. Li Moying originally bore an ugly expression and prepared to continue his fiancé lecture, but when he heard her last sentence, he blinked unexpectedly. "Lu Baiyan has someone that he likes. How come I have never heard of this? You're a nobody to him, so why should he tell you?" Huang Yueli rolled her eyes at him. Upon hearing that, Li Moying grew unhappy again. "Then who are you to him? Why did he tell you?" Looking at that gloomy handsome face, Huang Yueli knew that this man was jealous again. Why on heavens was there such a man who was so easily jealous? His tolerance was as small as a tip of a needle hole. Although she thought in this way, Huang Yueli felt her feelings lifted and couldn't help but laughed out. "You still dare to laugh? The minute you hear about Lu Baiyan, you smile. Don't tell me you too really," Huang Yueli hastily explained. "What rubbish are you thinking about? Do I even need him to tell me this kind of thing? I can observe it for myself. He obviously has a girl who he likes, but he don't dare to confess, so he made me dress up like her. We really only ate together. You can also listen on." "Hey, you're not allowed to be angry anymore. If you show me that face again, beware that I will ignore you." Huang Yueli's chin raised, showing an unyielding expression. Li Moying wasn't feeling especially happy. His little fox. Even if it was to have a meal with another man, he was upset. That was his exclusive privilege. Who did Lu Baiyan thought he was? His leer had better only eat with him. But he also knew that if he pushed her too hard, perhaps Huang Yueli might rebound. He liked that this little fox was not a woman who would bend to another's will. So he could only suppress his unwillingness down. All right, I'll stop making wild guesses and believe the both of you. But you two are not allowed to meet again, and you cannot go and look for Lu Baiyan. Hey, can you be more reasonable? Don't you know that only Lu Baiyan could possibly cure you? Don't tell me you want to die. Even if I die, I don't need him to save me. Otherwise heavens knows what demands he would ask from you again. This time he didn't make any demanding requests, but what about next time?" Li Moying said discontentedly. Huang Yueli was defeated by him. This man, usually he was so strong and incisive, but when he really became jealous, he was even more childish than a 3-year-old child. At least even a 3-year-old child would be able to tell that saving his life was more important than being jealous. Moreover, Lu Baiyan had not done anything to her. The only thing was his words were slightly infuriating, and she had already fought back against him. Li Moying saw her hesitation, and with an ugly expression, he drew near again. "What's your reply? If you dare to say no, I'll continue to kiss you until you agree." The man's warm breath breezed against her ears, as though he could turn his head, and pressing her into his embrace, willfully being frivolous. Huang Yueli knew that he really dared to. She could only reply, all right, I agree to it. I won't go and find Lu Baiyan again. Surely you can rest assured now, right? Anyway, she didn't need to look for him herself. She can send someone to look for him, and by the time Lu Baiyan arrived, it was unavoidable that the both of them had to meet. It was not that she really liked Lu Baiyan and wanted to get tangled with him, but Li Moying's illness was rumored to have worsened, so if Lu Baiyan didn't take a look, she really could not set her heart at ease, so it was impossible that she don't meet with Lu Baiyan. However, saying these out would only make Li Moying fly into a fit of jealousy, so it's best that she keep mum about it. By then, just do it directly. Li Moying looked at her suspiciously. You simply agreed to it. Huang Yueli replied in dissatisfaction. What do you mean? Don't agree, you get angry. I agree and you don't believe me. Just tell me what you want me to do. Li Moying stared at her for a while and his face gradually exposed a smile. Humph, since you listened to me, to reward you, let's... He closed in on her again as his thin lips drew nearer to her. Huang Yueli's actions was pretty fast as she put her little hand on his mouth with a paw sound. Li Moying's face turned black once more. Huang Yueli beamed at him and said, I almost forgot, you haven't eaten the breakfast that I made for you. It's turned cold. If you're not going to eat it, the porridge is going to turn sticky and it won't be nice at all. Li Moying hesitated for a moment and his dark black, deep pupils shone as though he was considering if he should eat his breakfast first or eat his little fox first. In the end, he decided to eat his breakfast first. After he had his fill, he would have enough energy to slowly devour his little fox. You can also listen on. Li Moying let Huang Yueli off and sat down by the table. On the serving plate laid a bowl of specially boiled minced meat egg porridge and 4 different snacks, jujube paste cake, crystal prawn dumpling, spring rolls stuffed with 3 delicacies and small steamed bun. An aromatic fragrance whiffed out and just based on the smell, it made one hungry. Li Moying instantly felt hungry and he lifted his chopsticks as he started eating the food in large mouthfuls. As he ate, he didn't forget to praise Huang Yueli's cooking skills. Lear, the food you made are simply too delicious. I've never eaten something so delicious before. Why don't we get married officially tomorrow so that you can go back with me and cook for me every day? Huang Yueli pouted and replied, Fat hope. Who wants to marry you? Moreover, even if I do get married, don't expect me to stay at home to cook and take care of the kids. Today you're a casualty, so I'll make it an exception to cook for you, alright? Don't dream about making me cook every day. Li Moying was berated but his lips curled upwards revealing a smile. Okay, I said the wrong thing. My Lear's fingers are so pretty and slender, it's not for cooking. If your hands were to become rough from cooking daily, my heart will break. Huang Yueli was disgusted by his mushy words and was preparing to rebuke him. At this moment, someone knocked on the door. Bam bam bam. Who is it? Come on it. Their private time was disturbed and Li Moying's expression turned for the worse as he called out in a bad mood. The person knocking on the door stopped for a moment, probably frightened by Li Moying's fierce tone. After a while, Luo Jiyun pushed the door open and asked cautiously, Senior brother, it's me, what's the matter? Have you made the dog hot pot already? Li Moying glanced at him with a chilling look. Luo Jiyun was dumbstruck. What dog hot pot? He had long forgotten about it. He thought Li Moying had said it in a fit of anger earlier. Moreover, Huang Yueli obviously liked the white puppy at the entrance. If he really killed it to make into a hot pot, if sister-in-law really blamed him, he would have to bear all of the consequence, so he was not that silly. But hearing that tone, could it be that eldest senior brother's anger had not quelled? Hadn't sister-in-law settled him? He threw a suspicious glance at Huang Yueli. This glance made Huang Yueli become more embarrassed as she tugged at Li Moying's sleeve. Alright, stop spouting nonsense. For junior brother Luo to come at this timing, there must be some urgent matter, so listen to him first. Alright, I'll listen to you. Li Moying smiled at Huang Yueli and with a humph, he turned around and asked, What's the matter? Luo Jiyun really wanted to cry but no tears came out. Listen, what was known as hoes before brothers? Putting love before friendship. This was it. When he talked to eldest senior brother, He bore an aloof and impatient expression. But what about sister-in-law? Just one sentence and senior brother listened to her and was so gentle to her. If there wasn't anything to compare again, there was no impact. His heart sighed in agony for a while, but remembering the official matter, his expression turned solemn. Senior brother, I had received a letter from the sex white-breasted falcon. Master is asking me again if I had managed to incite you and bring you back. Senior brother, then you, Huang Yueli asked curiously, wasn't it mentioned that when Li Moying left your sect, there was just 7 days before the tournament started? Now that 7 days had already passed, the tournament will be starting today, so isn't it too late to rush back now? You can also listen on. Luo Jian explained, the tournament had indeed started, but according to competition regulations, this tournament would continue for a total of 3 days. If eldest senior brother were to make his way back now, he should still be able to make it for the last day of the tournament. Most heavyweight practitioners would only go on stage on the 3rd day, so we will be just in time to leave now. I see. Huang Yueli nodded as she turned around to look at Li Moying. Li Moying had a cold expression as he laid down the chopsticks and replied, I'm not going. If you're worried about the masses and the sect, you can take the flying boat back first. Luo Jian replied, how can we do that? What use would it have if I were to go back alone? West Sky region had sent so many younger generation experts, so based on my potential, I can't even get in line. Li Moying replied calmly, what does that have to do with me? But, Luo Jian jolted, but that is after all our sect. Senior brother, I know you're still angry with Master obstructing you from leaving the sect. Master was indeed too rash to say he would never admit sister-in-law and such. But those were just words which Master had said in a fit of anger, so don't hold it against him. Li Moying replied, I'm not angry with him. Whether he admits Lear or not, what does it have to do with me? I'm the one marrying her, and not him, so it's enough that I admit her. Although Master saved my life, but if he wanted to interfere with my decision, it's impossible. Then, why are you unwilling to do back? Luo Jian questioned curiously. Li Moying replied, because my Lear have to go to Sky Cloud City and I'm worried about her, so I've decided to escort her personally to Sky Cloud City. Ha! What? Both voices screamed out in shock at the same time. Huang Yueli blinked her bright big eyes as she said, Li Moying, I'm not that frail to need you to escort me to Sky Cloud City. There's only one channel to Sky Cloud City from here, so I won't lose my way. Li Moying bore a face of disapproval as his deep gaze laid momentarily on her before he responded, I know you won't lose your way, but I'm afraid that you may meet with an accident on your way there. This time I just left you for how long and you were almost killed by someone. This was just an accident. Huang Yueli retorted, and it's impossible that I have a killer pursuing me daily. Moreover, if you're not, rest assured, you can let brother Moe to accompany me on my way, so it won't delay your journey. How can I do that? I should protect my own woman, how can I rely on someone else? These are 2 different matters, right? Huang Yueli took a look at him and continued, you really don't need to worry about me. I can take good care of myself. But your sect, haven't you met with some troublesome matters? I heard brother Moe mention before that this tournament is especially important for your sect, so stop being willful and quickly go back. Huang Yueli knew what happened to Li Moying when he was young and knew clearly the gratitude he had for his master. If it hadn't been for Murongda, Li Moying would have been dead, frozen in the snow with no possibility of being able to cultivate, and impossible to become his current strong state. This gratitude had been kept within Li Moying's heart, and under the circumstances that it did not go against his principles, whenever Murongda needed his help, he would never reject. So this tournament. Li Moying had intended to attend, but he could not rest assured about her safety. You can also listen on. Li Moying's intentions were seen through and he started to hesitate. Luo Jiyun hastily added on, "Senior brother, this tournament is directly linked to our sect's reputation. Anyway, it would take only a total of 10 days to travel by the flying ship, so when the tournament is over, you can go look for sister-in-law again." Luo Jiyun was totally speechless. Still said he wasn't angry. If he wasn't angry, would he had such a reaction? How would sending Huang Yueli to Sky Cloud City be more important than the sex tournament? Now that Huang Yuel's killer had already been injured and escaped, and with a powerful expert like Moe by Huang Yueli's side, plus the fact that there was only one channel to travel, under normal circumstances, she would be extremely safe. Huang Yueli was so smart and so black-bellied, she wouldn't need anyone to escort her. To put it blankly, Li Moying just didn't want to hear other people belittle Huang Yueli, saying she was not worthy of him, that the both of them cannot get married and such. Murongde had spoken incoherently previously just to obstruct him from leaving, and it had offended Li Moying, which was why he was acting in this way. If this wasn't being sullen, then what was it? Huang Yueli too agreed, "That's right, just rest assured and go back. I'm just going to Sky Cloud City to enter the entrance examinations. It's just a small matter. For such a powerful expert like you to stay by my side, it will only give me pressure." Li Moying suddenly recalled the Celestial Light Academy that Huang Yueli was going to enroll for the examination was. His face let out a deep smile and finally gave up on insisting his way. Since he had decided to go back and join in the tournament, then he didn't have any time to waste. 2 hours later, Li Moying and Luo Jiyun prepared to leave. After he boarded the flying ship, Li Moying held Huang Yueli's wrist and pulled her into his embrace. After that he lowered his head, and under her shocked expression with large eyes staring at him, he gently left a peck on her lips. "I'll be right back, wait for me." Huang Yueli hurriedly covered her mouth. This man was really more and more exploitive. The surroundings were filled with shadow guards and spectators from the little town, and he actually kissed her in front of everyone. After a while, the flying ship slowly rose to the skies, and those standing by the side of the ship gradually could not be seen anymore. Huang Yueli rose her head and looked at the sky as a sense of disappointment and frustration gushed up. After a while, she turned and looked at Moe, who was standing right beside her. "Brother Moe, we need to be on our way too. To tell you the truth, I must reach Sky Cloud City within 10 days, otherwise I will miss the enrollment timing." Moe also started to become anxious. "What? So fast? Then we must grab tight of the time now. Even if we rush throughout day and night, we might not even reach in 10 days' time. Let's set off now." 7 days later. The atmosphere in Sky Cloud City was boisterous. Plenty of talented young men and ladies had gathered at this place on account of its reputation. Today was the enrollment day of various academies in South Sky region, and the enrollment period will last for a total of 3 days. If any practitioners were not able to make it on the 3rd day by the 3rd quarter of Shishir, 5 to 7 p.m., then they would not be able to take part in the various academies' entrance examinations. 3 sorry figures appeared in the bustling crowd. The 3 people, by Ruoqi, Li Shuer, and Imperial Tutor, were traveling along the widest pathway in Sky Cloud City. This was the pathway to the most reputed and famed Celestial Light Academy. Bai Ruoqi had just reached the intersection and had been shocked by the tremendous amount of people. Heavens, there are actually so many practitioners who came to enroll for Celestial Light Academy. You can also listen on. Li Shuer didn't think anything of it as she said, "That's of course. Celestial Light Academy is the best academy in South Sky region. The number of people who comes to enroll every year is the most, but the elimination rate is naturally the highest too. Only those with at least 4th grade talent will be selected." When Bai Ruoqi heard that, she instantly became restless. I'm just a fourth-grade talent, I wonder if I will be selected. Her fourth-grade talent was considered powerful in South U Kingdom as it was very rare. But when placed in Sky Cloud City where all geniuses from South Sky region gathered, she was equivalent to a small shrimp, totally unnoticeable. In Celestial Light Academy, the worst grade talented students were at least a fourth grade and they were well known among the fourth grade talents, so normal fourth grade talents would already be eliminated from the start. Bai Ruoqi was born in a small place like South U Kingdom, so her cultivation methods and profound skills were not the best quality. Compared to those fourth-grade talents who were born in South Sky region's great families, there really wasn't any competition at all. Li Shuer comforted her, "Don't worry too much. This round you're considered lucky to have some good come out from the disaster. Although you were almost drawn clean of your blood essence, but that is still external injury. After you'd taken that vessel coagulation pill of mine, not only had your injuries all healed, you also broke through to the second stage realm. A 15-year-old second stage realm practitioner is considered not bad in Sky Cloud City. With me here, your selection is definitely not a problem." Bai Ruoqi quickly held on to Li Shuer's hand. "Shuer, this time I must really thank you. If I can enter Celestial Light Academy to learn, then I'll listen to all your commands in future." Li Shuer smiled. Her situation in Celestial Light Academy was not the same as South U Kingdom where she was held in high respect by everyone. Now that there's a sidekick like Bai Ruoqi, to her, it was something good. She turned towards Bai Ruoqi and said, "The queue here is too long. I have a way to cut queue, come with me." The three of them turned many corners and followed a small pathway and walked all the way into Celestial Light Academy's entrance until they found a middle-aged man dressed in a green robe. When they saw the person, Li Shuer immediately greeted him. "Master." Bai Ruoqi, an imperial tutor, had initially found this man normal-looking and didn't treat it as a matter of fact, but when they heard Li Shuer greeting him, she immediately felt deep veneration for him. They all knew that Li Shuer's master was a fourth-rank armament master. Fourth rank. What concept was that? South U Kingdom's highest-ranked armament master, Master Yen, was only third rank, and yet the emperor had treated him like a VIP with utmost respect, even more respectful than the imperial tutor. The reason was because armament masters were simply too rare and too important. Which practitioner didn't want a tremendous amount of profound armaments to arm themselves with? But those who had the potential to refine armaments were simply too few. When the middle-aged man, Tang Jinhua, saw Li Shuer, he gave a smile on his face. "Shuer, you spend quite a long time at South U Kingdom, right? Those homework which I'd given you, have you been completing it on time?" "Of course, master." Shuer had gone back this round and found that my standard of refinery had improved. The success rate of refining a first-tier profound armament had already reached 30%. This time back, I intend to practice for some time before going to the Armament Guild to apply for assessment of a first-tier armament master. When Tang Jinhua heard that, he immediately replied happily, "Really? You are able to have a success rate of 30% in such a short time. With this standard, it's enough to become a real armament master." Not bad at all. I really didn't judge you wrongly. You can also listen on. Li Shuer immediately responded, it was all due to Master's delicate teachings which led to Shuer having such results. Although having said that, her face started to reveal some complacency. She was now the apprentice of a high-level armament master, and at her age, her innate talent was not bad. So usually in Celestial Light Academy, she was quite popular among the other students. As everyone all had profound armaments, and sometimes they might meet with some damaged or defects which require repairing. As everyone were poor students, it was apparent that they were not able to find reputable armament masters as they simply could not afford such exorbitant prices, so they could look for armament apprentices to fix it. After all, as a student of the armament branch, whenever they repaired fellow students' profound armaments, they would be able to get student points. So their fees were generally much lower, and sometimes in order to gain the student points, they would also do it for free. High-level armament apprentices were all highly pursued by the other students in the academy. If they really became a true blue armament master, then they would be viewed as a core figure. Even Celestial Light's armament branch students who become a first-year armament master were only a total of 20 over people. As long as she could pass the armament master qualification examinations, then she would be accepted as a core student directly, and even hope to enter Celestial Light's sect to become an outer disciple. Tang Jinhua was obviously very satisfied with Li Shuer's performance as he added several words of encouragement. Li Shuer took the opportunity and said, "Master, this time back to South Yu Kingdom, I brought along my best friend who is also intending to enroll for Celestial Light Academy. Master, do you think you can help her to enroll a little faster?" Although she said to help in the enrollment process, but Tang Jinhua naturally understood that Li Shuer hoped he would be able to help her best friend enter Celestial Light Academy. However, as Li Shuer, his disciple, had made him satisfied, if Bai Ruoqi's potential wasn't too bad, he didn't mind helping. Tang Jinhua inquired, "Really? This is your friend?" He turned around and his gaze fell upon Bai Ruoqi, who had been standing by the side carefully. "What's your name? Which tier talent are you? What's your cultivation?" Bai Ruoqi replied respectfully, "Master Tang, my name is Bai Ruoqi and I'm 15 this year. I'm a 4th tier lower grade talent and my cultivation had just advanced to 2nd stage realm." When Tang Jinhua heard her reply, his brows creased immediately, appearing to be slightly perplexed. 4th tier lower grade talent. That's just a little too low. Tang Jinhua was put in a difficult position, but when he heard those words, his eyes congealed as though he thought of something. "Wait. South Yu Kingdom and your surname is Bai, you mean? Could it be Bai Lu Feng?" Bai Ruoqi's face immediately filled with joy. "Master Tang, you are acquainted to my uncle." Tang Jinhua's smile on his face turned brighter. This time when he sized up Bai Ruoqi, he seemed more amiable. "So, Bai Lu Feng is your uncle?" "That year, Bai Lu Feng was my classmate. He's a powerful figure." Thinking back about that year, in the first year of entering the academy, he had already become the core student, and he also became top student among the core students. Till now his name is still on Celestial Light's honor list. Since you're Bai Lu Feng's niece, naturally, you're different from the other examinees. Bai Ruoqi's heart was finally assured. She knew how to observe one's words and gestures, so she immediately continued from his words. "Oh, Master Tang is actually Uncle's classmate." Uncle had indeed mentioned that while he was in Celestial Light Academy, he had many good friends, but unfortunately he had no chance to say goodbye. In actual fact, Bai Kuo-chi had not met Bai Lu Feng many times, but for her to say such things now made others feel that she was pampered by her uncle from young. Tang Jinhua became even happier when he heard that. "It's so rare that even though he had such high cultivation and yet he still remembers us. Too bad he's been missing for so many years, otherwise, we should really gather together." "Alright, I've noted down your matter so you can skip the basic exams and try for the second round of exams. But ultimately it would depend on your performance on whether you're selected or not. But don't be too worried. As long as your results are still passable, we will definitely give you priority to be selected." Bai Ruoqi hurriedly accepted as she was overjoyed beyond words. She had never expected Bai Lu Feng's name to be so useful. Just using this uncle's reputation whom she had no feelings for, she could easily be treated differently at Celestial Light Academy. This was simply a biscuit that dropped from heaven. However, before she got even happier, Tang Jinhua's next sentence made her depressed. "That's right, speaking of this, I remember that Bai Lu Feng has a daughter. In terms of age, she should be similar to you. Is she alright? Why didn't she join in the examinations this year? No one had expected Tang Jinhua to suddenly remember Bai Ruoli, as their hearts instantly become uneasy. But very quickly, Li Shui reacted. Master, you mean Bai Ruoli? She is indeed Bai Lu Feng's biological child, but unfortunately she is a trash who is not able to cultivate, so she didn't join in the examinations this round. What? Bai Lu Feng's biological daughter is not able to cultivate? Tang Jinhua's eyes widened as he said in disbelief. Li Shui replied, isn't that right? Such a waste. Otherwise, why wouldn't she come for the examinations? Tang Jinhua sighed several times more. That's too bad, just too bad, such a waste. If Bai Lu Feng's daughter had just a bit of cultivation talent, even if she was a third-tier talent, our academy would enroll her immediately. I really didn't expect this. Bai Ruoqi was overjoyed earlier, but when she heard this, her face turned black. With her fourth-grade talent, Tang Jinhua only said to give her a chance at the examinations before being given priority selection. But if that wretched lass came, no matter what grade talent she was, she would be selected immediately. You can also listen on. The differential treatment was just too obvious. Comparing the two, the rear door that Tang Jinhua had opened for her was comparable to dismissing a beggar. Moreover, Huang Yueli's true potential was that powerful, and with Bai Lu Feng's bright stature around, in that case if she were really to come to Celestial Light Academy, wouldn't she do extremely well here? Bai Ruoqi was so upset that she clenched her teeth and cried out secretly, luckily that wretched lass is dead. Luckily she didn't have the life to come to Sky Cloud City. No matter how many opportunities she had in Celestial Light Academy, it's all come to a naught. Thinking of that, she started to feel a lot better. When they finally bade farewell, Li Shui's mood turned considerably well. Ruoqi, see, my master's quite good to you, eh? The priority enrollment name list only have a total of 5 students every year, and it's normally give to major powerhouses' descendants, and this time he's left one place for you. Bai Ruoqi immediately thanked her. Shui, you really have your ways. If it wasn't for you, I would probably not even have the chance to take the examinations. And you already have the potential to become a first-tier armament master. You're just too incredible. I must really congratulate you. Li Shui was extremely proud with herself, but she was deceptively acted modest. You flatter me. Today you are able to get yourself on the name list. You also need to give credit to Marquis Bai Lu Feng's face. I hadn't expect Marquis Bai to be so powerful in Celestial Light Academy that year. Number 1 core student. And with the title as Bai Lu Feng's niece, you'd have a smooth pathway in Celestial Light Academy. Hearing that, Bai Ruoqi's face turned dull. Li Shui realized something was wrong and asked curiously, Ruoqi, what's the matter? Bai Ruoqi appeared fidgety as she asked in a whisper, Shui, Imperial tutor, do you think Bai Ruoli, that slut, has she died yet? Li Shui responded, whether she's dead or not, aren't you the clearest among us? That day we saw with our own eyes that she was pursued by that 5th stage realm expert without any way to strike back. No matter how powerful she was, she's just a 2nd stage realm practitioner, so is there any way for her to escape death? Bai Ruoqi hesitated and asked, but she's abnormal. In the past we had always thought she was some trash, but in the end, not only was she suddenly able to cultivate, her cultivation also improved by leaps and bounds. Perhaps this round, there would be some sort of accident again. Imperial tutor said dully, I remember that when you were dragged into the woods by that 5th stage realm practitioner, didn't you say he used your blood and did a spiritual ritual to search for Bai Ruoli? Didn't you see if she had died then? Bai Ruoqi replied, of course I didn't see it. At that time, I only saw that expert strangling Bai Ruoli's neck and had dragged her to one side, and after that I couldn't hold on any longer and fainted. By the time I awoke, the both of them had disappeared. Do you think that slut didn't die? If she were to suddenly appear, then I wouldn't be able to use Uncle's name to continue staying in Celestial Light Academy. Li Shuer thought for a while and replied, I still feel that you're thinking too much. Didn't you say it yourself that Bairuoli's neck was strangled by that expert? Perhaps the next second she was already strangled to death, so what could she come out with? You only didn't see her corpse. I heard that there's a kind of cadaver disintegration powder which can turn the corpse into a puddle of water. Perhaps not only did Bairuoli die completely, even none of her bones and dregs remained. Saying that, Li Shuer's eyes flashed past a glint of chilly laughter. You can also listen on. Based on her judgment from the scenario from then, she was 90% sure that Huang Yueli was dead. This was really something exhilarating. The biggest insult that she, Li Shuer, had ever suffered was because of Huang Yueli. Now she had died in such a terrible way, even her bones did not remain. Only for her to die this way would she slightly lift her feelings of hatred. Hearing Li Shuer say this, Bai Ruoqi finally was rest assured. Wasn't this wretched lass arrogant? Didn't she dare to insult her elder cousin at the Peach Blossom Banquet, Crown Prince and Imperial Tutor, and even dared to plot against Li Shuer? No matter how complacent, how overbearing she was at that time, but what was the use? Now that she had offended a real expert outside, didn't she die from just one palm strike? Now, the person who had the last laugh was her Bai Ruoqi. 3 days of enrollment period came to an end quickly. Until the evening of the third day on the last quarter of the enrollment time, Huang Yueli still had not appeared. Bai Ruoqi was initially still rather restless, worried that Huang Yueli didn't die and suddenly come to life. The results had proven that she was really thinking too much. That wretched lass had indeed been murdered by that killer and absolutely was not able to come back to life suddenly. When she got to know about this, Bai Ruoqi was especially overjoyed. During her few days' stay here, under Li Shuer's guidance, she got acquainted to several Celestial Light Academy's teachers and senior brothers and sisters. After conversing with them, Bai Ruoqi realized that her missing uncle Bai Lu Feng was that powerful, simply considered as a famous person. Bai Lu Feng had broken many different academic records during the time he spent in Celestial Light Academy and was the only one whom Celestial Light sect made an exception to interview to draw him into the sect. It was also rumored that the sect master had wanted to take him in personally as his disciple. However, not knowing what Bai Lu Feng had in mind, he actually rejected the offer. Bai Ruoqi felt that Bai Lu Feng was extremely silly to have squandered such a good opportunity. However, his reputation was still outstanding. Many people had heard of him, and it was because of Bai Lu Feng that she had differential treatment from others, which made Bai Ruoqi felt great. She was also very sure that if Bai Lu Feng's biological daughter were to appear, then her identity as a niece would have to stand by one side. Now that this wretched lass had died completely, she had no more qualms about using Bai Lu Feng's name to enjoy different privileges in Celestial Light Academy. On the second day after the enrollment period had ended, Celestial Light Academy organized the preliminary examinations. Preliminary examinations was just a simple check on the bone age, cultivation and grade of innate talent. But just that one round was enough to filter out at least 90% of the people who had enrolled. Those whose innate talents were the lowest, who were 4th-tier lower-grade talents, among the rest were to take the second round of examinations. But these people's cultivations were mostly in second stage realm third stage, which was much higher than Bai Ruoqi. When Bai Ruoqi found out about this, she rejoiced in her heart. If it hadn't been for her uncle, Bai Lu Feng, she probably would have been eliminated in the first round. Without even getting a chance to take part in the second round of examinations, she would have to return to South Yu Kingdom. If that really was the case, then, it would be too embarrassing. Now she had nothing to worry about. On the third day was the second round of examinations. Bai Ruoqi took a number plate as she queued up to enter Celestial Light Academy's public square to take the examinations. Before she left, Li Shuer encouraged her, "Do your best, you must perform properly. After today, we will be classmates in Celestial Light Academy. You can also listen on." Bai Ruoqi smiled and said, "Don't worry, just wait and see. I'll be all right." The reason for her self-confidence was not without any reason. Using Bai Lu Feng's reputation, she got acquainted to many people and she had inside news from a certain someone on the contents of the second round of examinations. A supervisor who had once received a favor from Bai Lu Feng specially brought her into the examination location secretly so that she could spend some time practicing there. Celestial Light Academy's assessments were mainly based on impromptu ability to react, but since Bai Ruoqi already knew about the assessment content and had practiced it, she held a big advantage over the others. Although her potential was not as good as the others, but as she already knew the technique to clear that stage, Bai Ruoqi was certain that she was able to pass the assessment, and probably get a pretty good rank. The examinees who were taking part in the second round of examinations had gathered at the public square. A white-haired elderly man appeared in the middle of the tall stage. "Everyone, I am Celestial Light Academy's vice principal. A warm welcome to you for enrolling to Celestial Light Academy, and since you're able to pass the preliminary examination and to take part in the second round of examinations, then all of you must be the fittest among your age group practitioners. But it's not easy to enter Celestial Light Academy because at least half of all of you here would be eliminated today." No one below the stage talked as everyone stood upright with an anxious yet excited expression. Celestial Light Academy's elimination rate was the highest among all other academies and everyone were very clear of this. So since they were here, they were prepared to compete against the other geniuses. The elderly man swept his gaze below the stage and expressed a satisfied reaction towards the crowd as he nodded his head. But competition also represents an opportunity. In Celestial Light Academy, as long as you have enough power, you will be able to succeed in various competitions and obtain a large amount of resources. This entrance examinations is the same. This time, all of your examination results will be recorded down and ranked. First place practitioner in the entrance examinations will be obtaining a 4th tier lower grade profound armament, 200,000 mid-grade spirit stones. Second place will obtain a 3rd tier upper grade profound armament, 100,000 mid-grade spirit stones. Third place will obtain a 3rd tier mid-grade profound armament, 50,000 mid-grade spirit stones. Wow! When the prizes were announced, the examinees who were below the stage couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. The prize for the first person who came in first in the entrance examinations would get a 4th tier profound armament. To the first and second stage realm practitioners, a 4th tier profound armament was equivalent to an unimaginable huge amount of fortune. Even if it was a 3rd tier profound armament, they were not able to afford it. Even if they were geniuses from some big powerhouse, they were not able to get such a high-class profound armament from their families. Celestial Light Academy was really the #1 academy in South Sky region. Just an entrance examination and they were giving out such expensive rewards. The elderly man continued, besides that, the top 10 practitioners would also be able to get a 3rd tier lower grade profound armament, 3,000 mid-grade spirit stones. Top 50 would get a 2nd tier upper grade profound armament, 10,000 lower grade spirit stones. So work hard everyone. After the elderly man had finished his words, he stepped aside and passed the official examinations matters to the school's teacher to explain. However, at this point of time, no one noticed this at all. All the examinees were so agitated that their eyes shone, with everyone rolling up their sleeves for battle, preparing to show their full potential to obtain a pretty ranking. Even Bai Ruoqi had secretly pondered as she knew she wouldn't be in the top 10 category. But as she already knew about the contents of the examinations, perhaps, she might be able to get into the top 50. As long as she was able to get into top 50, she would be able to obtain a second-tier upper-grade profound armament. You can also listen on. The presiding examiner clapped his hands and the crowd quietened down. Since everyone is clear on the examination ranking rewards, then I shall explain the assessment contents in detail. The assessment is split into 3 portions, namely to assessment everyone's power, skills and determination. The examiner explained in detail on the assessment content and style. As Bai Ruoqi already knew the information, her mind started to wander. Truth be it, those who listened carefully to these details were practitioners from the surrounding smaller countries, as these people were the most likely to be eliminated. Those who were able to get a top ranking were mostly geniuses who were born in various powerhouses in South Sky region. They already understood Celestial Light Academy's assessment criteria while they were in their homes, and some powerhouses even let their own geniuses practice in advance so as to guarantee their ranks and rewards. Besides the elderly Vice Principal Ling, there were also several other people who were seated on the tall stage right in front of the public square, looking at these examinees. Bai Ruoqi looked afar and recognized one of them as Li Shuer's master Tang Jinhua. Although she didn't recognize the others, but she knew they must be some important figures in Celestial Light Academy. It looked like the entrance examinations was rather important, since it attracted several important people like Vice Principal Ling to personally come and take a look. She must put up a good performance this time. Just as Bai Ruoqi was looking around, a disturbance could be heard from the direction of Celestial Light Academy's main entrance. As though someone was arguing with the Academy's guards, as the sounds of dispute could be heard distinctly from the public square. The examiner noticed the situation and frowned as he ordered the person next to him, "Go take a look at the situation. Today is a big day for the school's entrance examinations, and it's extremely important. Go see if some other Academy students have come to create havoc." That person walked one round around the entrance and relayed the message. Seemed like someone was late and wasn't able to enroll on time, but still insisted on taking the assessment. The guards at the entrance refused to let her in, so both of them had some arguments. Examiner unhappily replied, quickly asked that guard to make that person leave. Every year there would be some who were late and not able to make it for the examinations, and every year it would be handled properly, but why is there such a huge commotion this year? This year, Vice Principal Ling had specially drew some time out to take a look at the entrance examinations, so that he could pick out diamonds in the rough. If the entrance examinations were handled properly, the examiner would be able to shine in front of Vice Principal Ling. He couldn't allow anyone to create trouble at this juncture. Yes, I'll go relay your message immediately for the guards to quickly. The examinees below the stage had heard what happened, and all of them looked curiously towards the entrance. Some of them even started to discuss this matter. Wakao, who dares to create trouble at Celestial Light Academy? Don't she want to live anymore? Didn't you hear what the examiner said? That person didn't manage to enroll in time and wanted to gate crash to take the examinations. Wishful thinking. Where does she think this place is? That's right, my background is from the top 10 families in South U region, and I must also obediently enroll on time. Who does that fellow at the gate think she is? If she angered Celestial Light sect, in future, no other academy would dare to take her in. Just at this moment, the disturbance from the entrance became even clearer. Following that, the figure of a slender young lady slipped past from the door and rushed right into the public square. You can also listen on. And right behind her was a large group of academy guards, all of them ashen-faced and bearing swollen faces as they pursuing her endless but yet unable to keep up with her. Stand there right now. What place do you think Celestial Light Academy was? A place for you to crudely rush into? Don't you want to live anymore? The young lady's footsteps stopped momentarily as she stopped in front of the public square. turning her sights onto the lines of crowd on the examination hall as her eyes gave out a gleeful smile. The assessment hasn't started yet. I managed to get here in time. Examiner, I want to enroll for Celestial Light Academy's entrance examinations. Hearing this clear and melodious voice, Bai Ruoqi turned around abruptly and upon one glance, her mouth opened wide with a face of disbelief. Because the young lady in front of her eyes was actually Huang Yueli. It was actually that wretched lass. She actually appeared at this place. What was going on? How could this be possible? This little slut, hasn't she died already? Hasn't her body been turned into water by the cadaver disintegration powder? But for her to appear here now, was she human or ghost? Seeing that the guards were not able to deal with someone who crashed into the venue, the examiner's face turned black immediately as he berated dissatisfactory. What are you all doing? This is the most important time of the Academy's assessment. Why can't you even guard the door properly? What are you waiting for, still not going to remove this person? Hearing the examiner's words, Bai Ruoqi's pale like sheet face slowly started to gain some color. Right, although this wretched lass suddenly appeared, but she actually dared to act blur in such a way. It was already way past the enrollment period and she still dared to barge in. Did she think this was South Yu Kingdom, using Prince Yuang's might to do as she wished? Now that she was under Celestial Light Academy's powerful grasp, this slut probably would not even get a chance to express that she was Bai Lu Feng's daughter and would be bound up and thrown out of the academy. The guards had finally reached the public square. After a lecture from the examiner, all of them were embarrassed and hurriedly rushed up to catch her. But who would have expected Huang Yueli to slip aside, and as the guards were about to catch her, she managed to escape their grasp and all of them caught hold of nothing. Huang Yueli hid aside and shouting loudly, "Hey, the few of you don't keep your words. Didn't we agree earlier that as long as I can enter Celestial Light Academy, you will let me take the examinations? How can you go back on your words now? Is Celestial Light Academy's credit so worthless? Did you see what happened earlier?" Vice Principal Ling suddenly gave a sound of astonishment on the stage. The gray-robed elderly man beside him nodded. "You mean that young lass who barged in? Her footwork is really something." Vice Principal Ling continued, "Yes, the profound energy vibrations coming from her body seem to be only second-stage realm cultivation, but those guards who tried to capture her earlier are all third-stage realm practitioners, and by right their reaction should be faster than hers by a lot. But her footwork is so ingenious and could actually trick them go into circles. This lass is really not simple." The public square had already turned into a mess. The expressions on the guards who were trying to capture Huang Yueli had turned ugly, and as they turned around to catch her, all of them shouted at her heavy-heartedly. "Wretched lass, you actually cheated us. You can also listen on." "That's right, if you hadn't snuck an attack on us, how could you possibly get into the academy? And you still dare to sprout nonsense in front of the examiner. Don't even think of being able to attend the entrance examinations today. Get out here quickly." Huang Yueli blinked her big eyes as she pouted in dissatisfaction. "You all really intend to go back on your words? All right then, I won't stand on ceremony." Saying that, she waved her hand and before the guards could even see her movements, they felt their legs giving way as they lost their balance. A few patter sounds were heard and under everyone's witness, these third-stage realm guards actually fell onto the ground, and all of their faces kissed the ground. Huang Yueli's face was all smiles as she crossed her arms and on her delicate face was an innocent expression. "Aya, you're too courteous. No matter what, you're also Celestial Light Academy's guards and at third-stage realm. Even if you feel that you've done me wrong, you also don't need to pay such a huge respect. You're prostrating in front of me, I really can't accept this." The guards had fallen onto the ground seeing stars as their heads had gotten dizzy. After their dizziness had gone off, they finally realized what happened, and the few of them were so ashamed and resentful that they wished for death, only hoping to hide into the ground. How could they, how was it possible, that they were tripped over by a second-stage realm lass? And to fall in such an unsightly position. Moreover, it was on the entrance examinations grounds, in front of so many examinees. This was embarrassing to the max. The few guards continued to lean on the ground, not daring to climb up or lift their heads to see anyone. They didn't expect Huang Yueli to say that. The few of them almost vomited out a mouthful of blood. When the examiners on the stage saw this scene, their expressions started to change. As Celestial Light Academy's teacher, his cultivation had reached 5th stage realm and his power was much higher than those guards. So he had seen clearly Huang Yueli's trajectory. When this last struck out her hand, she had also thrown out some kind of secret weapon. That method of throwing out the item was extremely tricky, and as those 3rd stage realm practitioners didn't manage to react in time, they fell into her trap. Not only was her strike fast, swift and accurate, her mouth was shockingly vicious. After being tricked by her today, it was imaginable that few guards didn't have the face to continue staying in Celestial Light Academy. The examiner was initially utterly discomfited and wanted to chase her away, but at the present moment, his expression changed. The lass in front of him looked pretty young, but her cultivation had already reached 2nd stage realm and she was at least a 5th grade talent, so she was considerably strong. Besides that, the way she utilized her profound skill was not simple at all. It wasn't something which ordinary people were able to learn. This young lady might come from some huge powerhouse. Towards the genius young lady who had both talent and powerful connections, the examiner naturally wasn't willing to offend her. So his attitude immediately changed. This young lady, what's your name? From which family did you come from? Did you know that our academy's enrollment period has ended and you're already late, so you're not able to take part in the examinations? When the examiner said these, his tone was stable and calm. Based on his position, he was considered rather modest. Huang Yueli then let the guards off as she turned towards him and replied in a light tone, "My name is Bai Ruoli and I come from South Yu Kingdom. You can also listen on. When I came over today, I heard that the enrollment period had passed, but I traveled a long distance from South Yu Kingdom and you can't expect me to go back like this. I hope Mr. Examiner would give me a chance, please." When the examiner heard what she said, he went into a blank. The young lass in front was asking for an exception to join the examinations, which wasn't surprising at all. But when he asked where she came from, it was with the intention to sound her out to see if her family had some relationship with Celestial Light Academy, so that he could use it to her advantage and find a reason to give her a chance. The result, who knew? She actually said she came from South Yu Kingdom. Where on earth is that ghost town? He had never been there before. His impression of that place was one of the 10 small countries around Dark Moon Forest, so small that it couldn't be any smaller. In this case, should we give this lass a chance? Just as the examiner was hesitating. On the stage, Tang Jinhua suddenly yelled out in surprise, "South Yu Kingdom, and her surname is Bai." This young lass couldn't be. Vice Principal Ling asked curiously, "Master Tang, why are you so excited? Don't tell me you know this lass." To be able to sit on the stage to observe the examination grounds were all upper management of Celestial Light Academy. And among those present, only Tang Jinhua was a 5th stage realm practitioner. But Tang Jinhua was an armament master with rather good potential, so his status was naturally much higher than similar leveled practitioners. Tang Jinhua said, "Vice Principal Ling, didn't I mention this yesterday? The reason why I want to observe the assessment is because a friend's niece is one of the examinees. To tell you the truth, she is the famous Bai Lu Feng's niece." "What? Bai Lu Feng's niece?" Those present started to cry out in alarm as their eyes revealed several glints of shock. When Bai Lu Feng was in the academy that year, his reputation was so resounding that only those who had experienced it personally knew about it. To be honest, his potential at that time had long surpassed many Celestial Light sect's direct disciples, and many records which were still preserved at Celestial Light Academy were created by Bai Lu Feng. After he had rejected Celestial Light sect master's offer to be his disciple, he left Celestial Light Academy and his power advanced by leaps and bounds, which made everyone unable to believe that he came from a small country around the border. Vice Principal Ling hurriedly asked, "How is the potential for Bai Lu Feng's niece?" Tang Jinhua shook his head as he replied, "I must disappoint Vice Principal Ling. Bai Lu Feng's niece's talent is rather common, and even if she is able to enter Celestial Light Academy, she would probably be at the bottom of the rung. When she came to enroll, I had asked about Bai Lu Feng's daughter and she said her cousin is 14 this year." Hearing that, everyone's gaze turned towards Huang Yueli. In that case, this last below also came from South Yu Kingdom, and her surname is also Bai. How many practitioners bore the surname Bai in that small place, and with such great innate talent to be able to defeat third-stage realm practitioners? I guess she must be Bai Lu Feng's daughter. That's right, no wonder her mastery of footwork and usage of secret weapon is so exquisite. I'm guessing it must be passed down from Bai Lu Feng. Correct. Seeing how natural and unrestrained from the way she speaks, that quick-wittedness doesn't lose out to Bai Lu Feng at all, so she must be her. Bai Lu Feng is considered as quick-witted. That fellow was a mischievous chimp. Sinister and crafty, not a good person. Ha ha ha, Master Ching, I know that Bai Lu Feng had burnt your beard that year, so you still nurse hatred towards him till today. How long ago was that already? You can also listen on. Humph, I'm not someone who bears grudges. Master Cheng's face blushed when he was exposed by his friend as he hurriedly denied the allegation. Vice Principal Ling then said, "Since she's Bai Lu Feng's daughter, then her ability should be almost the same. Based on the contributions during his year in Celestial Light Academy, it's entirely justified if we enroll her directly, so just pass down the message." Wait a minute, Vice Principal Ling. When Tang Jinhua heard that, he frowned as he hastily cut into the conversation. What's the matter? Master Tang, do you feel that we shouldn't make an exception? You were in the same cohort as Bai Lu Feng, and towards the things that he had done, you should have more or less heard about it. That year, he was, after all. Tang Jinhua shook his head and replied, "I don't mean it in that way. If she's really Bai Lu Feng's daughter, then we should directly enroll her. But she probably isn't." The few of them went into a blank. Not her. How could that be possible? Yes, please explain why you think so. Tang Jinhua continued, "When Bai Lu Feng's niece came to enroll, I asked about Bai Lu Feng's biological daughter. Although she is 14 years old this year, but she didn't have any innate talent, and was a cultivation waste. Because of this reason, she didn't come for the entrance examinations this year along with her cousin. The young lass's potential is not too bad, and although she could not be compared to Bai Lu Feng that year, but surely we cannot consider her to be a waste, right?" When the crowd heard, they gazed at one another as their intense debate had extinguished by a large bit, as though doused by cold water. In this case, after so much time, she isn't Bai Lu Feng's daughter. We rejoiced too soon, but since she came from South Yu Kingdom and also bear the surname Bai, surely she should have some kinship with Bai Lu Feng, right? This is hard to say. Even if so, it's still different from her biological daughter, so if we were to directly enroll her, it would be very difficult to explain. Vice Principal Ling heard everyone's discussion, and after thinking for a moment, he passed a message to someone. "Since we can't directly enroll her, but this lass's innate talent is not bad, so we can still give her a chance. Go pass down my command to give this lass an assessment quota." On the public square, Huang Yueli and the examiner were in a deadlock for quite some time. She noticed the other party's hesitation and said, I know it's difficult for me to convince everyone if I were to join in at this juncture. Why not we do it this way? You can test me a different set of assessment. Even if the difficulty is much higher than the others, it's fine as well. In this way it will be fair. Examiner looked at her surprisingly. Most people who took the entrance examinations at Celestial Light Academy were afraid they would not be able to pass, but this lass actually asked to raise the bar. What was wrong with her? Wasn't she afraid that her standard would be too far apart and embarrassed herself? Since that's the case, the examiner had just agreed to her terms when she saw someone coming down from the stage to pass a message. The other party whispered a few words by his ear and the examiner gave an astonished expression which followed immediately by his announcement, All right, since your attitude is so genuine, then we shall make an exception, so do show us good results in the examinations. The enrollment criteria remains the same as the others. The crowd went into an uproar the minute the examiner announced the result. How could they do this? They actually permitted her to join in the examinations. Moreover, the assessment criteria is the same as the rest. Earlier she suggested to raise the standard, but the examiner actually didn't agree to it. You can also listen on. What background does she really have? Does she have a strong backer? Quite a number of people were dissatisfied with this result. Just looking at how Huang Yueli defeated those few guards, although she sought the help of profound armaments, but to be able to defeat several third-stage realm practitioners, not many of those present were able to do so. Very obviously, she was a tough opponent. And she would definitely affect everyone's ranking in the assessment. Just at this moment, someone jumped out to protest against this. Mr. Examiner, this is unreasonable, right? This Miss Bai had obviously missed the enrollment timing. On what justification can she enter the assessment? If you were to make an exception for her, then others would also be able to come and enroll at the very last minute. The examiner turned and looked at Huang Yueli when he heard what was said. Since letting you take the assessment would be difficult to convince the crowd, what do you think we should do? The examiner had intentionally said this because Vice Principal Ling had personally sent someone to pass a message to let Huang Yueli attend the assessment. For someone of Vice Principal Ling's stature to open his mouth, naturally that person's face was very big. But that lass was just from some small countryside, so the examiner was filled with puzzlement. Now that someone was questioning Huang Yueli's qualification, he didn't directly settle this issue but threw the problem to Huang Yueli, just to see how much this lass could handle. Huang Yueli knew the examiner pushed the problem to her. However, the problem to any ordinary young lady was a difficult one, but to her, it was just chicken feet, not posing any difficulty to her. In a calm and unhurried manner, she replied, This is very simple. Huang Yueli stopped for a moment and turned her gaze towards the young man who doubted her. Since you feel that I don't have any qualification to join in the assessment, then I shall challenge you. If I am able to defeat you, then you will give up your assessment qualification to me. How about that? Ha! What? The young man was dumbstruck, not expecting Huang Yueli to be so direct. The minute they didn't get along, she didn't hesitate and immediately declared war against him. Huang Yueli looked at him with a half-smile as she said, Why? You don't dare. If you don't even dare to accept other people's challenge, then on what grounds do you have to enter Celestial Light Academy? On what grounds assess your doubt against other people? You'd be better off staying at home and being a good boy. Ha 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 ha, the crowd starting bursting out in laughter. The young man's face flushed red. If he still didn't accept the challenge, in future when he entered Celestial Light Academy, he would still be laughed at by others, unable to hold up his head. All right. Let's compete. He set his heart across and accepted the challenge. In actual fact, he was feeling apprehensive. After all, Huang Yueli had made 4 third-stage realm guards lie down on the floor. But his thoughts raced quickly as he started to think that he was also a genius in his family. He was also able to defeat a normal third-stage realm practitioner. The reason was because ordinary practitioners and those geniuses who really received serious grooming held different cultivation methods and profound skills. Even though they were of the same stage, but the difference in potential was very huge. Huang Yueli could defeat ordinary guards, so it means that her skills were outstanding. But he himself came from a prominent background, so he might not be any worse off than that lass. The both of them agreed on the bet, and the public square started to bustle with noise and excitement. Everyone's gazes were affixed on the both of them, and each and every examinee were very excited. It was rumored that competition was intense in Celestial Light Academy, and in order to receive any resources or opportunities, it would be via competitions to gain a position. Battles and bets amongst students were very common. Whoever's strength was weaker was bound to be bullied. No one had thought that even before the entrance examinations, they were able to witness their first bet on the spot. You can also listen on. When the few VIPs on the stage saw this, they too expressed praises. Not only does this lass have a high innate talent, she also has guts and an imposing spirit. The minute she came, she set out a challenge unrestrainedly. Her intention is use her absolute power to shut up the others' mouths. This is really meaningful. The other party who accepted Little Lass Bai's challenge seemed to be from the branch division of the Situ family. Situ family is also considered as one of the top 10 powerhouses in Sky Cloud City, so even if he's from the branch division, his potential is also extraordinary. Tang Jinhua frowned as he expressed his worries. Vice Principal Ling, are we really going to let them challenge one another? We don't know how much potential this lass has, and just based on her imposing spirit, it's just not enough. If she were to lose to the kid from Situ family, then she would have to get out of Celestial Light Academy. Maybe we stop them from challenging each other. Vice Principal Ling's face had a slight smile as he used his hand to fiddle with his beard, laughing, replying in an unconcerned manner, no matter. Since she's a descendant from Bai Lu Feng, how could she not even win a bet? Let's just wait and see. On the public square, the examiner had already ushered the examinees to move towards the two sides and leave the space in the middle for the two contenders. Huang Yueli and the young man each took one side. The examiner said, "The competition shall start now." The young man arrogantly raised his chin and he cupped his hand in greeting and introduced himself. "I am Situ Kachin, third young master from Situ family branch division. The cultivation method I'm most apt in is..." "Enough, your introductory is too lengthy. Are you intending to strike or not?" The young man had yet to complete his sentence when he was interrupted by Huang Yueli. He went into a blank for quite a while before he opened his eyes wide in disbelief. You actually, how can you be so impolite? When the powerhouse's disciples in Sky Cloud City had competitions, they all followed regulations. They must stop moderately, they must be polite. Before each battle, the two parties would have an exchange of pleasantries to introduce their background and whatever outstanding skill they had. For a practitioner like Situ Kachin, who came from one of the powerhouses, basically when he bragged about his own position, many practitioners who didn't have a strong background and were weaker would be afraid. So without him even striking, they would immediately admit defeat themselves. This round was the same practice. Situ Kachin had originally intended to show off in front of Huang Yueli, the country bumpkin from a small country around the border, in the hope that she would not dare to provoke him and get out from Celestial Light Academy herself. But who knew that Huang Yueli couldn't even be bothered to hear him finish talking and just interrupted him. Moreover, she spoke with a tone filled with ridicule, as though what he was saying was a joke. Just as Situ Kachin was feeling embarrassed and angry, Huang Yueli's soft voice was heard again. "This competition is not about treating someone to dinner. Did you think that, when you met with the enemy's attack, others would be willing to hear you talk such a long chunk of rubbish?" Since you have no intention to strike, then I will not stand on ceremony. She had already stuck before she completed her sentence. Situ Kachin could only see a scorching fire ray flash, and before he could react, he already felt a dull pain on his chest, scorching heat directly himself in the face. He hastily worked his chi to defend, but it was too late. The fire attributed profound energy was almighty and was the top 3 attributed attacks among all the other attributes. As Huang Yueli was the one who displayed her skill, the attack force which she had showed was astonishing. A fire dragon smacked directly onto Situ Kachin's, sending him flying miles away. You can also listen on. Situ Kachin's body flew high up into the sky, over everyone's heads for quite a distance before landing right behind the crowd. The moment he fell, he had passed away even before he managed to groan. His chest bore the burnt mark of the fire dragon. The crowd went into an uproar. No one had expected that the young master from the Situ family's branch division would be defeated and incurred a serious injury by a lass who had no fame or reputation, who came from a small country. Even the examiner was stunned for quite a while. Huang Yueli raised her brows as she reminded him, "Mr. Examiner, may I check if the results of the battle can be announced?" "Oh, right. The examined regained his senses. The winner of this battle is Bairuoli from South Yu Kingdom. Based on their bets, Bairuoli will not obtain the official qualification to take part in the enrollment assessment, whereas Situ Kachin has been disqualified. Men, bring Mr. Situ out." Situ Kachin had just barely regained his conscience when he heard the examiner announce the result. Recalling that he had waited for a long time for today, with the intention to put his expertise to good use in Celestial Light Academy, but in the end not only did he lost his entrance qualification, but he was also thrown out. This lass from the countryside, how was it possible that she was so powerful? Wasn't this abnormal? The more Situ Kachin thought, the more melancholy he became, as he couldn't help but spat out a mouthful of blood, as he fainted again. But Huang Yueli didn't bother about him again. Situ Kachin was just a young master from a powerhouse who grew up in a protected environment, and this was the first time he encountered the law of the jungle elimination process, so being melancholy was a definite thing, but as this was a bet which he had accepted willingly, he had to accept the price of defeat and had no one to blame. Huang Yueli swept a glance at the crowd, and from their eyes, she saw expressions showing astonishment and restraining fear. The corners of her lips curled up slightly as she spoke in a composed tone. "Who else has objections to my examination qualification? You can raise it all and I'll accept it right here." No one answered her question. Everyone had been shocked by that one-strike performance which defeated Situ Kachin. Those present who were able to join in the second round of the examinations were mostly disciples from branch divisions of Sky Cloud City's major powerhouses, and many of them knew Situ Kachin and his power. In this round of enrollment examinations, Situ Kachin had shown outstandingly over a large number of people and had the chance to obtain the top 10 ranking. But even if he was like that, he was still unable to withstand one strike from Huang Yueli. How about those whose potentials did not even match Situ Kachin? If they dared to provoke Huang Yueli, then won't they be waiting for her to serve them their last dish? Everyone suddenly had the same thought in their minds. Even Situ Kachin, who was thought to obtain the top 10 ranking, could not go up against her. Then just how strong was Huang Yueli's potential, and could it be that she would be able to get the first place in the enrollment examinations this time? Bai Ruoqi had hidden herself in the crowd as she was hopping mad. Wasn't this wretched lass being pursued by the 5th stage realm practitioner and had already been injured seriously? How could she escape death, and within a short span of 20 days, her injuries miraculously healed completely and her potential seemed to have improved further? How did she do that? She herself had borrowed the position of Bai Lu Feng's niece with great difficulty to make those at Celestial Light Academy see her in new light, giving her a chance to prove herself. Would it be disrupted by this wretched slut again? The more Bai Ruoqi thought, the more indignant she felt. You can also listen on. At this moment, Huang Yueli asked once more, "Is there anything who had objections to my examination qualification?" The crowd looked at her with an unfriendly gaze, but still no one replied. Huang Yueli replied with a half-smile, "Since there are no more objections, that means everyone had accepted my enrollment examinations qualification. Teacher, I had wasted quite a bit of everyone's time, so let's not continue to delay everyone any further. We should start the assessments." The examiner was rendered speechless. So this lass also knew that she was delaying everyone's time. To say it point blank, she was just too arrogant. If it hasn't been for her interruption, they should have officially concluded the first portion of the assessment. But not only did this lass caught the eye of Vice Principal Ling, she had already shown exceeding guts and power. In Celestial Light Academy, power was equivalent to might and the underlying basis of arrogance to use power to talk. So the examiner wasn't angry at all as he just replied, "Since that's the case, you can take over Sitakachin's position. Go stand into place." Huang Yueli nodded as she walked towards the spot which the examiner pointed to. Coincidentally, that position was just one row in front of Bai Ruoqi, and as Huang Yueli walked past, the two exchanged gazes and unavoidable bumped into each other. Huang Yueli's eyes flashed past a glint of surprise as she didn't expect Bai Ruoqi to have escaped death even though her blood was let out by Zhuo Fangping. Moreover, she made her way to Celestial Light Academy and even passed the preliminary examination. Bai Ruoqi stared daggers at her, her eyes filled with flames of hatred. If it wasn't that they were in Celestial Light Academy's public square, she probably would have berated her long ago. But Huang Yueli merely threw her a glance and her lips even curled up into a slight smile. Following that, she turned around with her back facing her and stood in her own position. This was pure contempt. This was worse than slapping Bai Ruoqi on her face, which made her feel even more humiliated. Huang Yueli's response obviously showed that she didn't pay any attention to her. She felt that she had a great feud with Huang Yueli, but in Huang Yueli's eyes, she was merely a buzzing housefly. To even pat her dead was too troublesome. Bai Ruoqi was infuriated until she could not take it. As she turned to look at a young lady standing next to her, her eyes suddenly shone. She nudged a few steps nearer and closed in while speaking in a low tone, "Miss Song, look at that Bai Ruoqi. She's so arrogant and despotic, as though none of the examinees here are able to defeat her. She totally didn't pay any attention to you at all. Actually, that bit of power of hers, compared to you, was like a fart. How dare she be so arrogant?" The young lady beside her was a young miss from the Song family, a major powerhouse which was ranked third in Sky Cloud City, Song Yaru. Song Yaru's birth was elegant, her looks were graceful and refined. With an exceeding 6th grade innate talent, she was a popular socialite pursued by many among the Sky Cloud City's families. Song Yaru's potential had long surpassed those around her age in this round's enrollment assessment. It could be said that even before the assessment started, everyone had already decided that she would definitely come in first. For a genius young lady with such potential, to come in first place in Celestial Light Academy was no suspense at all. She had not expected to gain much from her time in the academy. You can also listen on. Song Yara's ultimate goal was to obtain the number 1 ranking so that she was able to come in first in next year's annual sex tournament and officially enter the number 1 sect in South Sky region behind Celestial Light Academy, Celestial Light Sect. To join Celestial Light Sect was something which the other examinees don't dare to think about, but to Song Yara, it was a goal which she must reach. The disparity between both parties' levels was naked to the eye. Bai Ruoqi was able to get acquainted to Song Yara because of Bai Lu Feng's reputation. If it wasn't for the fact that she had an uncle in the 8th stage realm, the daughter of a rich and arrogant family like Song Yaru would not bother to talk to Bai Ruoqi at all. At the present moment, she merely glanced one eye at Bai Ruoqi. Her power is indeed not weak. Not only had her cultivation reached the last stage of 2nd stage realm, the way she uses her profound skill is also well versed. She indeed has the ability to be arrogant. Bai Ruoqi didn't expect the elegant and powerful Song Yaru would give Huang Yueli such a high evaluation. Momentarily, her face turned green and white, as though she had been slapped by someone. But Song Yaru paused for a moment before continuing. No matter what power she has, it is just enough to compare against these normal examinees. In Sky Cloud City where geniuses gather, various powerhouses have nurtured their peerless geniuses, so even I am not able to be compared against those people, moreover sometimes it's better to remain low-keyed. When the actual assessment comes, she will then understand how much disparity she has from a real genius. When Bai Ruoqi heard this, she couldn't help but feel overjoyed. What Song Yaru meant was obvious. That she was dissatisfied was how arrogant Huang Yueli was. Point blank, no matter how powerful this wretched slut was, she would not be able to compete against the peerless genius Song Yaru. It was just because other people cannot be bothered to focus excessively on this only. By the time of the assessment, when real abilities matters, she could only wait to be defeated. And so, the first round of assessment started. As all of you can see, this row in front here is a total of 12 strength testing stones. Later on, each and every one of you must start from first stone on the left side and using all your power to unleash your attack towards the strength testing stones. You must strike all 12 stones. You're not allowed to use any profound armament. Lastly, the total strength of the 12 strength testing stones would be tallied together, and that is everyone's first round of assessment results. The examiner introduced the assessment criteria and immediately announced, "Now everyone please follow according to your number and come up. The assessment starts now." The examinees stood in line as each person stepped up and unleashed their attacks towards the strength testing stones. Huang Yueli looked on in interest. In her past life, when she was adopted by the mythical Flame Palace's palace master, one of the 7 sacred lands in Soaring Heaven's continent, she never had to participate in such a low-leveled assessment. It seemed to her that Celestial Light Academy was really worthy of the academy directly affiliated to Celestial Light sect. The assessment content was rather exquisite. Using strength testing stones to assess practitioners' profound energy strength wasn't something rare. The rare part was Celestial Light Academy actually used 12 pieces. To hit 12 strength testing stones consecutively in one strike was definitely much more difficult than using one's entire strength to hit one stone. It's just because of that, in a spurt of energy, next would become weak and lastly to be exhausted. To raise one standard facing a piece of strength testing stone was not difficult, but if one were to use his entire might against the first strength testing stone, then the attack on the next few pieces of strength testing stones would show an obvious drop in strength. You can also listen on. So the biggest problem was how to distribute their power evenly onto the 12 pieces of strength testing stones during their strike. This round of assessment was not just testing the practitioner's strength of profound energy, but also to assess them on the control of their strength and method used. The first few examinees who took the assessment apparently didn't understood the deep meaning to this assessment. Most of them directly used the strongest force they had on the first strength testing stone and had scored the highest mark on it, but subsequently the strength went downhill, and until the last 3 pieces, those practitioners had completed relented and could only unleash 10 over Gene 1, even weaker than those ordinary people who were naturally strong. When the 12 strength testing stones points were added up, the result was much lower than what the examinee had expected. How did it turn out like this? Mr. Examiner, I miscalculated earlier, a miscalculation. The strength that I usually unleash is much higher than this. Please give me another chance and try all over again. Yes, mine is also a miscalculation, please give me another chance. Quite a number of them were begging earnestly, but the examiner was not touched. It was announced earlier that everyone had just one chance. Whether you can grab the opportunity or not depends on yourself. Alright, next batch. Bai Ruoqi was right in the middle of the second batch of examinees. When it was her turn, the corners of her lips curled up slowly into a smile. This bunch of blockheads, did they think the Celestial Light Academy's assessment could be passed so easily by brute force? Fools who don't use their brains will forever be stepped upon by others. She had already knew about the exam question and had practiced in secret. So she knew that in order to get high marks for this question was how to distribute one's profound strength properly. So she only utilized 60% of her strength during her first strike. The light beam on the strength testing stone stopped in a rather low position. Examiner reported the figure, 1,300 gene. The surrounding examinees started to turn around and gave her a shocked expression, obviously showing signs of despise at this result. Those who had taken the assessment earlier had at least scored a 2,000 gene of strength, and some had even exceeded 3,000 gene on the first strength testing stone. Bai Ruoqi had actually scored at least 2/3 lesser than the lowest score in the earlier batch. What a big difference. How can it be that low? Just this bit of standard, she should be in the Qi Profound Realm 7 or 8 level. How did she even pass the preliminary exam? Hearing the whisperings below the stage, Bai Ruoqi secretly scolded them morons in her heart, and immediately following that, she continued to strike out her second move. She continued to adjust the intensity of her profound energy, and the strength that she struck out had actually became stronger. The second piece, 1,400 gene. Third piece, 1,500 gene. Fourth piece, 1,600 gene. All the way until the seventh piece, Bai Ruoqi had hit a peak of 1,900 gene, but following that, her strength gradually became weaker and her results went downhill from there, and until the last piece, she had only managed 1,000 gene. But even so, her total results was still much higher than those in the previous batch. When the results was announced, those who had ridiculed her earlier all become dumbstruck. Even when those VIPs on the stage heard the examiner reported the results, they also took another look at Bai Ruoqi. This young lady is the person whom you said was Bai Lu Feng's niece. Although her innate talent is slightly off, but the ability to change according to situation is very outstanding. An elderly practitioner said while fiddling with his beard. You can also listen on. Isn't that so? Looks like this lass's power of understanding isn't too bad after all. Although innate talent is important in the art of cultivation, but that meant advancement in the early stages would be much faster. Moreover, we can use pills to change the body constitution. But towards the advanced stage, comprehension becomes the main key. Without the power to comprehend, the best innate talent would be wasted. This Bai Ruoqi is a rough diamond. The few elders had not expected Bai Ruoqi to know the assessment content in advance and had mistaken that she had really thought of a way to evenly distribute out her profound energy in such a short time, so they saw her in new light. Although it was rare to find a genius with a great innate talent, but a genius with such great comprehension was even rarer. Even Vice Principal Ling also added, this lass's comprehension is really extraordinary, but it's such a waste for her innate talent to be only at 4th grade lower level. Sigh. Otherwise we can directly admit her to be a core student. For now, just give her a prospective core student qualification, and after 1 year has passed, we'll check on her performance again. Saying that was equivalent to have pre-elected Bai Ruoqi. When the examiner heard Vice Principal Ling's message, he immediately announced at the public square. Instantly, everyone looked upon Bai Ruoqi with envy and jealousy as the crowd bustled. all discussing about her. My heavens, Bai Ruoqi is actually pre-elected to become a prospective core student. Yes, based on what? I have already realized the concept that this assessment cannot be completed with just brute force but to use a certain technique. Her number's just slightly ahead of me, so she got the chance to show off. That's right, why have all the advantages been taken by her? Even though they were imbalanced, but the others were only discussing in secret and no one dared to voice out their objections. Bai Ruoqi naturally could not help smiling as she accepted the crowd's envious gaze, feeling delightful in her heart. This was the result she wanted. After she found out about the assessment contents, she had tried several times and was unable to hit the highest score. So subsequently she sought Imperial Tutor's advice, who helped her to devise a method to evenly distribute her profound energy so that she was able to display this skill during the official assessment, to make everyone in awe of her ability. But this information was something that she could never ever speak out. Bai Ruoqi smiled as she turned her gaze towards Huang Yueli. Instantly, she froze. Bai Ruoqi had thought that she had performed well and had suppressed Huang Yueli's earlier limelight, and she would be very angry and envious. But in actual fact, Huang Yueli's face remained calm, not even bothering to take a look at her. What's there to pretend? Bai Ruoqi clenched her teeth silently. I'm going to see how much strength you are able to unleash and if you have any way to surpass me. The assessment continued to proceed. With Bai Ruoqi as a precedent, all the examinees behind her tried preserving a portion of their power, and it was only when they were striking the last few pieces of strength testing stones when they gradually increased their strength. But unfortunately, as they had not pre-practiced, they were uncertain how much strength was most suitable. Towards the end of the assessment, the results that they had were incomparable to Bai Ruoqi. In this way, it set off Bai Ruoqi's comprehension as being much higher than most people, so those who were doubting her capability reduced by quite a number. Bai Ruoqi was joyfully satisfied, completely unable to control her smiling face. Number 95, Song Yaro. Just at this moment, the examiner on the stage called out Song Yaro's name. You can also listen on. This time, everyone's eyes were set on Song Yaro. As compared to the newcomer Bai Ruoqi, Song Yaro was the real genius who was the focus of everyone's attention. The minute she appeared, no one bothered about Bai Ruoqi. She walked lightly to the front of the strength testing stone as her expression was solemn, and after she had gathered her concentration, she struck out. 4,000 Jin. When the result of the first testing stone was displayed, everyone gasped. 4,000 Jin. Before Song Yaro, those who used all their strength on the first strength testing stone only managed to hit out a maximum of 3,000 Jin. But after everyone started to restrict their profound energy, even 2,000 Jin was already considered a high figure. But Song Yaro had easily hit out 4,000 Jin. And she obviously hadn't exerted all of her strength. Immediately following that, Song Yaro continued to strike, and the results of the remaining few strength testing stones were climbing uphill. 4,100 Jin, 4,200 Jin. 5,000 Jin. At the 10th strength testing stone, Song Yaro actually broke through to 5,000 Jin of strength. It was until the last two stones where her strength weakened, but even at the last piece, she managed to 3,500 Jin. By the time Song Yaro finished, the entire public square was dead silent. Originally the focus of the crowd was Bai Ruoqi with outstanding comprehension, who had dog poop luck, but now who could still remember who was Bai Ruoqi? Under the absolute power to crush anyone, whatever technique had already became a passing cloud. The elders on the stage couldn't stop but praised her in admiration. Song Yaro is really worthy of the Song family. Just look at her cultivation, she should had already reached 2nd stage realm 7 stage and above. Besides that, her power of comprehension is way higher than Bai Ruoqi. The layering effect of profound energy consistently continued until the 10th strength testing stone. I must congratulate Vice Principal Ling Song Yaru is the most likely candidate who will be able to join Celestial Light sect, and by then Vice Principal Ling would have contributed a great merit once again. The most important mission for Celestial Light Academy was to attract and nurture young geniuses with great innate talents for Celestial Light sect. If they were able to attract outstanding geniuses to the principals, it would be considered as an outstanding merit and would be given a large amount of reward from the sect. Vice Principal was all smiles. This batch, the most outstanding would be Song Yaru, so hopefully she won't disappoint me in future. When Song Yaru got off the stage, she casually cast a glance at Bai Ruoqi. Bai Ruoqi didn't dare to meet her gaze and subconsciously lowered her head. She too knew that Song Yaru despised her, but in front of this genius, what else could she say? Originally, she had never expected herself to outshine Song Yaru. With Song Yaru's astonishing performance, the others' assessment results were just too ordinary. Anyway, no matter how powerful they were, they would not be able to defeat her. And there probably wouldn't be another one who had such good luck like Bai Ruoqi. So, it was a long wait before it was finally Huang Yueli's turn. Number 157, Bai Ruoli. When the examiner reported this name, those who were already half asleep suddenly regained some energy. Earlier, Huang Yueli had continuously defeated a few third-stage realm guards, and using just one strike, she defeated the promising Saidi Kachin, who was thought to be the top 10 ranking, so everyone had various expectations on her power. Although she didn't believe that she could outshone Song Yaru, but she was after all a black horse who came out from nowhere. Everyone was curious on how much potential she had. You can also listen on. Under the crowd's focused attention, Huang Yueli left the formation and came to the front of the strength testing stones. Examiner said, "You can start now. Remember, you only have one chance." Huang Yueli nodded as she raised her fiel and suddenly unleashed her power, as though a lightning bolt shooting towards the strength testing stones. Pong 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 pong, 10 overcompressed knocking sounds were heard continuously, as she had within an instant, struck out towards the 12 pieces of strength testing stones at one go, without any pause in between. By the time her elegant and agile move had struck the last piece of strength testing stone, the result of her assessment simultaneously appeared on the top of each stone. First piece, 3000 gene. Second piece, 3000 gene. Third piece, 3000 gene. Fourth piece. Examiner stared at the 12 pieces of strength testing stones as his expression appeared a momentarily blank. 12th piece, still 3000 gene. Number 157 examinee, a total of 36,000 gene. 36,000 gene. This figure made everyone extremely surprised. 36,000 gram would definitely gain a spot in the top 10 ranking among all the examinees, but as compared to Song Yaru's exceeding 50,000 gene total, the difference was just too huge. Moreover, it didn't fit everyone's expectations of Huang Yueli. Originally, since she was able to send Sita Kachin flying in just one strike, everyone had thought that her potential should be much higher than the top 10 contenders, equally matched against Song Yaru. But who knew? From the looks of it, she seemed just so ordinary. Everyone looked at one another in dismay as they couldn't help but started to discuss in whispers. Huang Yueli, however, didn't seem to notice the surrounding situation as she calmly got off the stage and returned to her own position. She had just stood firm when Bai Ruoqi's sneering could be heard from behind. "Just 36,000 gene, you have just that much capability. Looks like your usual power were all because of the profound armaments that your father had left for you. Without external help, your potential is just so ordinary. Compared to the revered Miss Song, you're miles apart. What's there for you to be delighted about?" When Huang Yueli heard that, she turned slightly as her brows lifted. "No matter what, I've scored 36,000 gene. Compared to some people who cannot even manage 2000 Jin, I'm much stronger. Bai Ruoqi was rendered speechless as she refrained from commenting further. As for the others, they just discussed a little while more and didn't focus any more attention onto Huang Yueli. This suited Huang Yueli's intentions very much. She had felt that her battle with Situ Kichin had drawn too much attention earlier. Her main motive was to investigate the clue that Bai Lu Feng had left, and not to act cool in Celestial Light Academy. To her, 4th-tier lower-grade profound armaments were easily refined, so to fight for first place was really worthless. Moreover, as an accomplished 9th-stage realm top expert like her, she had her own pride. To go up against a bunch of youngsters who hadn't grown up in a low-leveled entrance examinations and fight for first place, if this news were to leak out, won't the others laugh until their molars all dropped out? Therefore, in this round of official assessment, she intentionally suppressed her cultivation and struck out casually. Her aim was to guarantee herself to successfully pass the examination and enter Celestial Light Academy. In the school term, it was equally important to keep a low profile. Otherwise, if she was targeted by anyone, if she wanted to do something against the school's rules, it would be extremely inconvenient. However, even though the others didn't target her, Song Yaru seemed to have noticed something and intentionally turned her head, throwing meaningful glances at her several times. You can also listen on. On the stage, the few people's gazes turned sinister as they had already seen through Huang Yueli's uncommon trait. This lass's result, why does it make me feel it's so unrealistic? Is it my misperception? Tang Jinhua creased his brows, feeling that something was amiss. Your feeling is correct, this lass didn't put in her entire effort. Correct, the first piece of strength testing stone was 3000 Jin, second piece was 3000 Jin. All the way till 12th piece, it was still 3000 Jin. How could there be no variations in the profound energy in every single piece? Who was she trying to fool? It only states an obvious fact, 3000 Jin to her. Not only was it not her entire strength, it's probably not even 30% of her strength, so she just casually struck out with no effort at all. Moreover, to have struck out continuously 12 times at such a fast pace and yet maintaining the same strength, the control over her profound energy has already been practiced to perfection. After the few elderly analyzed the situation, they nodded their heads as they could see each other's praises for Huang Yueli in their eyes. Tang Jinhua was dumbstruck, but, you mean to say it's possible? The fluctuation of the lass's profound energy was only its second stage realm. But according to what you say, if 3000 Jin was not even 30% of her strength, then her total profound energy should probably have exceeded 10,000 Jin, and that is something that only third stage realm practitioners can achieve. According to common sense, it cannot happen naturally. But if she's the biological daughter of Bai Lu Feng, then I feel, this is not rare. After all, Bai Lu Feng had achieved even more ridiculous things that year. That's right. Look at the lass's countenance, she really bears some resemblance to that stinky kid. The few of them started to make guesses. Tang Jinhua still retained a face of disbelief. I told you all already, Bai Lu Feng's daughter is a cultivation trash, and she is definitely not. Stop making wild guesses. Vice Principal Ling fiddled with his beard as he beamed, then let's wait for the result of the next two assessments. Even if she's not Bai Lu Feng's daughter, just based on her earlier performance, perhaps, her potential is much higher than Song Yaru. The first round of assessment came to an end, and very quickly, the ranking results were posted and was pasted on an eye-grabbing piece of huge rock at the public square. Huang Yueli took a look. Song Yaru had well-deservedly gotten first place while she was ranked 6th. But Bai Ruoqi had obtained an unbelievably low ranking, placed 48th. The reason for Celestial Light Academy to post the results out was a method of motivation to let everyone see how they ranked against their competitors, which made everyone increase their sense of crisis and competitive awareness. As expected, many examinees who were lowly ranked were filled with a sense of crisis as their expressions congealed. They had consciously felt that they were already on the verge of life and death, and if they didn't try their best in the next round, they would be eliminated. I believe everyone had already seen your own ranking in the first round of assessment. This ranking is only momentarily, as the next 2 rounds of assessment would increase in difficulty, so it would be much more difficult to obtain higher marks. Therefore, even if you are ranked in the top few, you shouldn't lower your guard. The examiner said some words of encouragement as he hurriedly entered the main topic. Next, we'll be starting the second round of assessment. Everyone please look towards the back of the right side. Everyone turned and looked towards the direction where the examiner had pointed. You can also listen on. Celestial Light Academy was built right beside an spiritual artery which had an abundance of profound energy. The public square at the entrance of the school is sitting on the lap of the mountain, and the 4 corners were surrounded by mountains. On the right rear end of the public square, 2 tall mountains sat opposite each other, and in between was an approximate distance of 300 meters. The 2 mountains were linked together by a thick steel cable. The examiner said, "Do everyone see that steel chain in between the mountains?" The second assessment's requirements is for everyone to pass through the steel cable in succession from the left side of this mountain to the right side of that mountain. The shorter the amount of time used, the higher your marks will be. Hearing that, many of them heaved a sigh of relief. Treading on that tiny chain of steel cable over the cliff was possibly terrifying for ordinary people and a very thrilling matter. But to practitioners, that steel cable bridge wasn't considered too difficult. So the main question now was how to unleash their fastest speed to reach the other side of the mountain. Upon seeing the crowd's relaxed expressions, the examiner coughed slightly and continued, "I have to remind everyone that this steel cable bridge isn't as simple as all of you think. This steel cable is one of the official training grounds that Celestial Light Academy official students train in, and the difficulty is very high." All of them went into a blank. The array masters from our academy had personally drawn up some array patterns on the cable. The minute you step on the steel cables, these array patterns will be activated, and around the cable surroundings will appear a fixed number of arrows repeatedly shuttling around the vicinity of the cable path. Once you've been struck by the arrow, a large amount of points will be deducted. If you're so unlucky to be struck off and fall into the bottom of the cliff, then your examination qualification would be cancelled, and this round's assessment will directly be cleared to 0. Directly cleared to 0. And will be struck off and fall to the bottom of the cliff. When they heard the examiner's detailed explanation, everyone finally realized the difficulty of this assessment, and they drew in a cold breath. The cliff looked like it was a few hundred meters in depth. If one were to look downwards, one would not be able to see the bottom, so they do not know what was lurking below. Even if they were practitioners and their bodies were well built and tough, but to fall into the cliff would be unbearable. Moreover, Celestial Light Academy's official students were almost all second-stage realm practitioners, and many were in third and fourth-stage realm. For the arrows to be able to strike them off the cliff, the force was imaginable. If they were unfortunately struck, then the injury would probably not be light. But as this is everyone's first time taking this assessment, so I've already reduced the quantity of the arrows to the lowest limit possible to a total of 12 arrows. Other than that, for fairness' sake, the first 10 examinees who take part in the assessment would have increased points awarded, so everyone can voluntarily volunteer yourself. Silence filled the public square. At this point, everyone hesitated, not knowing if they should volunteer or not. It was clear to see from the first round of assessment that those who joined in first would be disadvantaged, as those hiding behind would be able to learn from their experiences. But the examiner also said that those who volunteered first would have additional points. The examiner saw that no one volunteered and said, "If no one is willing to volunteer, then I will draw lots. But those who are drawn would not have any additional points. Let me have a go." A lean-built youth walked out. It's Lu family's 7th young master, Lu Zicheng. In the first round of assessment, he ranked 17th. Oh, it's him. Lu Zicheng's power is indeed strong and his cultivation among the examinees is one of the tops. Earlier he had suffered because of his inexperience and miscalculated, which is why his ranking is so far back. You can also listen on. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.